Children.
In America, children have many privileges.
But have you ever wondered where those privileges come from?
In America, children have the choice to play all day.
In China, there's no choice but to work.
In America, children sleep peacefully with a friend.
In China, children make those friends.
This is Made in China.
Today we will travel from Los Angeles to a place where some call home, but we call horror.
The working conditions are awful.
Toxic fumes fill the factories, often causing serious side effects in many children.
Education fails to become a priority because of necessities of a third income in the family.
While American adults average an 8-hour workday, Chinese children work 10 to 16 hours a day. They're often forced to do 24-hour shifts during holiday seasons to keep up with American gift-giving demands.
Poverty in a Chinese family becomes a result of low wages. A child would be paid 2 cents for a strand of fireworks, yet the risk of being blown up in the process still stands.
Children become emaciated due to the lack of wages for food and other basic needs.
Children pull the heartstrings of tourists, being placed on the streets in order to sell items for their employers.
Chinese children are forced to share beds and cannot even afford a blanket to keep them warm.
There are various reasons for using children for work.
Punishment such as fines for factories found using child labor is not enough to outweigh the benefits of using it.
Often, owners provide their employees with fake IDs, claiming that they're 16 years of age. This makes it impossible for officials to identify child labor in most factories.
Small private businesses are hard for officials to regulate, therefore child labor is easily hidden from the world. Also, children's wages are lower than the wages of adults, making them desirable for factory work because their prices will be lower than those of their competitors.
Since children have smaller hands and undamaged eyesight, they are more capable and efficient when dealing with tricky machinery and small parts. The children are also more naive and weak and therefore easier to exploit. Occasionally, they are even exploited by their family.
Adults are discouraged from working in factories due to increasing living costs, frequent layoffs, poor social services, and lack of medical benefits. Children become the only sources of work in this poor working environment.
Families often move from rural areas into the city. In the rural areas, children are used to working in the fields, and once they get to the city, their source of work becomes the factory.
Many children end up being kidnapped or put into a factory as a way to provide for a larger family.
There are many major companies that use this form of labor.
The cities of Zhejiang and Fujian are the largest abusers of child labor. The heavy industries such as the brick, coal, tile, and foundry industries are also employers of children.
The material industries, such as the toy, cotton, and electronic industry, also use child labor as a cheap method of production. A toy maker in North America makes $11 an hour, whereas a toy maker in China makes merely 30 cents.
Large-scale companies such as Apple and Walmart partake in these atrocities.
There are laws against child labor, though they are frequently ignored.
National child labor laws prohibits employment of children less than 16 years of age. Instead, the children who have not yet reached 16 years are required by education laws to remain in compulsory education for 9 years.
The lack of laws against child labor demonstrates the corporations and government's capability of being oblivious to the problem.
These are some examples of personal stories associated with child labor.
Brother and sisters Su Jin Duo and Su Jin Peng decided to accept a fruit selling job for money they could use to get back home. They soon were forced into long hours and had to pay most of their wages in order to gain basic necessities such as a blanket.
Apple was recently discovered for using child labor in their Foxconn factories in China. The conditions were so bad that many employees were committing suicide by means of jumping off the factory roof. Foxconn was forced to put nets on the side of the building to catch the suicidal workers.
Children in Hawaii were forced into labor while at school, making one long braid of firecrackers for the small wage of 2 cents. In March of 2001, 42 third and fourth graders were killed in an explosion. All this was done in order to make fireworks at that school cheaper than those of their competitors.
5 adolescent girls were residing in factory living quarters when the heater in their room caused them to be poisoned by carbon monoxide. In order to prevent blame for the girls' condition, the factory manager ordered the adolescents to be disposed of. Later, their families discovered the girls covered in vomit and bruises in a casket, ultimately proving they were buried alive.
You've seen the horrible conditions.
You've seen the low wages.
Now, in order to help, you can increase awareness.
Help the future of children in China and tell the world of their struggles.
Remember what is made in China.